It's great to have you here. You've sat still for an hour and a half. I think it's been a great program, and I'm not going to keep you a hell of a lot longer.
You know, when you have 5 kids, and none of them taking major left turns, and you see a company like this go through the first generation and then go on to the second generation, you know, it's pretty special. And when I say I have a unique job, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I probably have the greatest job in the world. And the guy who I've called probably my best friend all my life, and see him run this company today is wonderful. I think fathers, whether they're old fathers or young fathers, have a very soft spot in their heart for daughters. Daughters can do things to fathers that shouldn't happen. And having 4 daughters, I can attest to that.
The foundation that I established to basically support the Burke Scholars is called the Trinity Foundation. And I basically saw that as a triangle that encompassed community, kids, and education. And when you look at that, Milwaukee presents the potential to invest in all 3 of those.
Granted, one of the other big items was picking the name. And there were 3 of us sitting at a bar in Lake Mills one night in December of '75. That's where the name Trek came out of. It didn't come out of any New York advertising agency or any great market survey. It was just dumb luck. First of all, I was introduced to the chairman, and today and earlier in the week, a number of people talked to me and said, "Dick, how's it going?" And I said, "Fine." And they said, "Well, what are you doing?" I kind of looked at him and I said, "Well, I'm the chairman." You know, and the polite one said, "Okay, fine." And there were a few who said, "Well, what does the chairman do, Dick?" And let me tell you, you know, I've been working about the last 4 years to figure out what the hell the chairman does.
I think the, the Burke Scholars, which is almost 10 years old, was, at the time I finally had accumulated some resources where I could look at giving back to the university and to the community some of the things that they had done for me. And the end result was a pilot program where we offered scholarships to a limited number of incoming freshmen. It was basically a full ride scholarship, but on the other hand, we asked a lot of these young people. We were looking for people not only that had academic credentials, had financial need, but had also shown in high school a commitment to community service. And in selecting those people, the commitment to community service became a high priority. And not only did we ask those people to maintain a B average, we asked them also to provide 450 hours of community service each year. I think in retrospect, when we suggested that program, we thought, is that too much? Are we asking our people to give a lot of their time and their energies? As you look back on the program, and we've now had 5 graduating classes, I think that's probably been the most important component. And I think as anybody who has been involved in volunteerism would realize, you get a lot more than you give.
We went to the New York Bike Show in February 15th of 1976. And we were so small and so cheap, we couldn't afford a booth at the Coliseum. So we had a room. We had 2 rooms at the Sherry Netherland, right on Park Avenue South. And the only way we could get the frames up was by a freight elevator in the back. So there were 3 of us. Dick Nolan had driven the frames out in a van, and Bevel and I met him in New York. And we got the frame set up on Sunday morning, and Bevel says, "Well, nothing's going to happen this afternoon." He says, "The show starts tomorrow." He says, "I'm going to go over to New Jersey and visit my in-laws." And I don't think anybody here remembers Dick Nolan, but if you saw some of the old catalogs, the guy with the beard and the stocking cap on was Dick Nolan. And if you think I'm an introvert, you should have seen Dick Nolan. And so Sunday afternoon arrives, and all of a sudden there's a knock on the door. Here are the first people who want to look at Trek bikes. They've never heard of this company. So here Nolan and I, the engineer and the bean counter, leading the prospective dealers why God knows what Bevel was doing.
And sometimes the big guy here, as we refer to him, embarrasses me by talking about the family, but the family is kind of a special thing, and I have one family story that I'll share with you. It talks about Mary being the brains of the family, and she is. And she had the 4.0 GPA and went to the Harvard Business School, and the big guy barely got into college, and I applied to 4 universities, and people said, why'd you go to BU? And I said, it was the only one I got into. And so anyways, my son comes home last year, and he says to me, he says, Dad, I made the honor roll. I go, God, Richie, that's amazing. I said, you're the first Burke male to ever make the honor roll. So anyways, I'm all proud of this. So I call the big guy. I said, big guy, I said, you won't believe this. I said, Richie made the honor roll. What does the big guy say to me? First Burke male to ever make an honor roll.
Another highlight that comes up in my mind was the first tour in '99. I didn't know a lot about the Tour de France or road bike racing, and we had this team in the tour, and Dick was in Europe, kind of managing the company's involvement. About halfway through the tour, he calls John and he said, these guys might get it done. He said, you better get somebody over here. And so John asked me to go over, and I saw the last few days of the tour, and I think, as I told you last year, I had an opportunity to ride in the team car during one of the time trials. But I think one thing I'll always remember is being on the Champs-Élysées that Sunday afternoon, standing near the finish line, and seeing this big Teletron up over the avenue. And this is one of these huge screens, and the picture of that big blue line, coming on the Champs-Élysées, and knowing they were Americans in Paris was just a very chilling event. And to be at the finish line and see Armstrong in that podium, and the French having to play the Star-Spangled Banner for the first time on the Champs-Élysées, well, I mean, it was just chilling to be there. And I even think the French love the Americans for one day. I remember walking back to the hotel, and the guy at the coursier desk or whatever they're saying, is he looks at me and goes like that.
25 years ago, who would have thought that millions of people around the world would be watching the first American team on an American bike win the Tour de France? The United States Postal Team was riding a Trek bike made right here in Wisconsin. We've come a long way from 5 people working in a rented barn in Waterloo to consecutive victories in the greatest bike race in the world.
How was that?
That was good.
Oh.
Not even an That's great. Impressive.
I can get out of here now that we've done that.
And in closing, as I've said many times, and I hope I have a few more years to say it to you, it's been a hell of a ride. You people have made us what we are. We appreciate what you've done, and we want to keep it going. Thank you very much.